So you got to start over.
Myth.
Myth. Interesting. Good.
Different. Chaotic.
Positive.
Together?
Socratic.
What are we doing?
I'm gonna give that one word. Good. Okay, cool. Okay, so we're gonna play a game. I have been I'll just say very briefly that I had this thought about maybe 10 years ago now. Could it be possible to teach an entire philosophy class where everything that we do, everything that we learn, all of the kind of consciousness expanding, perspective changing experiences that we have all come out of some sort of fun games that we play together? Is that possible? And that's sort of like what I've been working on for the past 10 years or so. And here's one of my favorites. This is a game where we are going to, you and a partner are actually going to create a language that never existed before. Like, I guarantee you, this language has never existed before. Cool? So the first thing we're going to need to do is establish who your partners are. And the way that I do that is through a little exercise that I call left, right. So what's going to happen is in this game, you are only going to get to say one word. That word will either be left or it will be right. And whether or not it's left or right will depend on what the previous person said. In this case, the person to your right. If the person to your right said right, then you're going to say
Left.
Whereas if the person to your right said left, you're going to say
Right.
Okay, and we're going to go as fast as we possibly can. Okay, you ready? Left.
Right.
Left. I believe that we can go on a faster pace than that. Okay, so remember what your line is. It's either going to be left or right. You're actually going to find out your line pretty soon. Okay, you know your. Okay, ready? Right.
Left.
Right.
Left.
Right.
Right.
Left.
Right. Right.
Left. Right.
Left.
Right.
Left. Right.
Love it. Okay, great. Okay, let's give ourselves a round of applause for having that. Next, I need all of everybody who's left. Here. Okay. You were right.
Mhm.
Okay. You're left.
Left.
Yeah. Okay, so everybody who is right, who's a right? When I say 1, 2, 3, you're gonna turn to your right. And everybody who said left, when I say 1, 2, 3, you're gonna turn to your left. And then the person who you're looking at that point is gonna be your partner with whom you're going to create a new language that I guarantee never existed before in the history of the world. You ready? 1, 2, 3. Okay, cool. Yes. Okay. Okay, great. Now we have an issue. There's an issue on the table, which is that we have an odd number of people. Now, there are 2 possibilities for how to handle that situation. One is that I'm going to be paired with somebody. The other is that Professor Chen is going to be paired with somebody. Now, something I talk about a lot in my class is that whenever there's a question, when there's a group, there's another question, which is who gets to answer that question, right? And we can answer that question in a democratic fashion. Like we could vote on whether it's me or Professor Chen that has to participate in this activity, or gets to participate in this activity, or it could be a dictatorship where just one person decides that for the entire group. Of course, we would have to decide who is the dictator, and perhaps we could vote on that. How about if we vote on whether or not it should be me that's doing this exercise or Professor Chen? I will say that I think it would be fun to have Professor Chen doing it. It's also the case that it's a little bit easier for me to facilitate when I'm not doing it. So raise your hand if you vote for Professor Chen. So oh, you are.
I'm game.
Great, yeah. Okay, I'm gonna hear about this later. Send it to my office help roommates. Okay, great. All right, so everybody knows who your partner is? Okay, great. Brian, can you come demonstrate with me?
My name's Caleb.
You changed your name?
No, Brian's my friend that I like. That was like, can I bring Brian to class?
Can we just go with you changed your name?
Sure.
It's less embarrassing. Okay, Caleb, can you demonstrate with me?
Sure.
Okay, come up in the middle, give it up for Caleb. All right, so here's how it's gonna work. We're gonna do it in stages. We're gonna create this language in stages. In the first stage, you're actually only gonna speak English, but you're only gonna speak 3 words of English. Only 3 words of English are allowed, and those words are 1, 2, and 3. You're not allowed to say anything else, okay? And the grammar goes like this. One person says 1, and the next person says 2, and then the first person says 3, and then the next person says 1. That's how it goes, right? Okay, so let's try it out. Ready? And the person who says 1 should be the person who's first alphabetically by first name. Cool. Caleb, Ken, that's you.
Yes.
Okay, go.
So I'm just
You're gonna say the number 1,
1,
2,
3,
1,
2,
3,
1,
2,
3,
1,
2,
3,
1,
2.
3.
Got it? Okay. Make it great. Okay, give it up for us. So can everybody do something really crazy? Can everybody stand up? Go.
No problem. No.
Okay, face your partner.
Yeah.
Okay, say to your partner, repeat after me. Repeat after me. I am so excited.
I am so excited.
No, say it to your partner. You're both saying it to each other.
I
1,
am
2,
so
3.
excited.
That out of all of the people in the world,
That out of all the people in the world,
past, present, and future,
past, present, and future,
it so happens
it so happens
to have turned out
to have turned out
that I'm doing this weird exercise
that I'm doing this weird exercise
with you.
with you.
Okay, great. All right, so please establish really quickly, like introduce each other by names, establish who's first alphabetically.
And you're first alphabet.
Okay, great.
Me.
I have a question.
Yeah, you're looking at
Great. So I have a question. Does anybody have a question about how the exercise goes? Everybody's got it? First person alphabetically says 1. And if your partner just said the number 1, then what do you say?
2.
And if your partner said the number 2, what do you say?
3.
And if your partner said the number 3, what do you say?
1.
Go.
1, 2, 3.
You're 1.
2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
Okay. Okay, everybody got it? Yeah. All right, give yourself a round of applause. All right, next. I need another volunteer. Come on. Okay, so for this round, now we begin the process of creating a new language. This is where it's going to start to get pretty weird. The person who said 1 the first time, the person who's first alphabetically, is now going to create the first word in the new language. And the way you're going to do so is that word is going to include 2 parts. One part is going to be a sound, the other part is going to be a gesture. And when you actually speak going forward, you're no longer going to say 1. 1 is off the table. Instead, one will have been replaced, whoever's saying it, with this sound and gesture. Okay, so I'll create a sound and gesture just to like get the ball rolling. And, you know, try to go deep. Like, express your authentic truth with this gesture. Okay. And it has to include something like, the more full body it can be, the better. Okay. Three. So a bit of a side step to the right, like. Okay, let's start over. 3. 3.
Wow.
Come on, Esty, get into
I feel
it.
like it's a little more nasal, but okay. 3.
Wow.
Okay, all right, you got it? You got it? So sorry you came to this. Okay, all right, you ready? Everybody understands what they're doing? Yeah. Okay, all right, any questions? Do you have any questions? Yes,
so
Professor Joe.
sound
All right,
and the motion.
go. So it's gotta have a sound and a gesture.
That works. 2. High. 3. 2.
So we need a hand gesture or something.
2.
Yeah, okay, all right. Boom. 2, 3.
3.
Boom. 2,
2.
3. Boom. 2, 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 3. Boom.
Okay, great. All right. Awesome. Awesome. You're doing great. You've begun the process of creating a new language, right? Okay, so for this round, any guesses about what happens now?
The other person.
We did the
gets
same
another
thing.
for the second.
Yeah, in this round, there's only going to be one word left of English that anybody's going to be speaking, and that is 3, exactly. Instead of 2, the person who did not create the sound and gesture the first time is going to create it, teach it to the other person, and then instead of 1, you're going to do what you came up with last time for 1. Instead of 2, you're going to do what you came up with this time for 2, sound and gesture. And for 3, you just keep saying 3. Got it?
I didn't even come up with that.
Does it need to be?
Go for it.
A week. What kind of gesture do you want to do?
Oh, man, okay.
I'll do like.
Give me a heart. No, it's I don't know.
All right, you got it? Okay, now we have a problem. So what happens in the next round? You get rid of 3, right? But remember how in the first time, the first person contributed the sound for 1, sound and gesture for 1. And the second round is the second person created the sound and gesture for 2. We have a situation of scarcity where you need 3 words, but you only have 2 people. If one of the people creates the word, then that person's ideas and heart and soul and whatever is represented in 2/3 of the language, whereas the other person's heart and soul is only represented in 1/3 of the language. So how are we going to solve this problem? Split it.
I think of 2 ways.
Split it. Tell us more.
Like one person will move it, one person will.
People like that?
Yeah. More than fair.
Go.
So one.
You're better at the hand gestures. At the what? Like the gesture.
Yeah, so all right, so yeah. So one
So the word's yeah.
two.
Yeah.
Either way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay, great.
Very good.
Yo, you just created a new language. Do you agree with me that it has never existed before?
Yeah.
You both collaboratively created a new language. Like, that's pretty amazing. Give yourselves a round of applause. Okay, what can we do though? I have a question. Is there anything left of English in this language? Is English totally gone, or is its shadow still here somehow?
We use our letters.
Yeah.
Sorry?
We use like our letters, like we have to sound gur, we'd be like GRR.
RL.
I mean, it could be. We haven't written. We don't know how this language
Yeah.
is written yet. But okay, maybe some. So maybe some people have used some sounds. Did anybody actually come up with a word that's actually an English word in your sound? Y'all did. Okay.
I don't know. Foss.
I know.
Okay, that's totally fine. Is there any other way in which there's still a shadow of English in your new language?
Vowel sounds.
Sorry?
Vowel sounds.
Vowel sounds, okay. They could exist in different languages. Yeah.
Well, the words literally mean like 1, 2, and 3, which is English. So
Well,
based off of English, it's not
okay, cool.
different.
But we're not saying 1, 2, and 3 anymore. But is 1, 2, and 3 still here somehow?
Yeah, that's what I.
And how is it still here?
Because when
Like beyond the fact that that's where we started, because it could be that we started there and now we've left it behind. But is there any way in which we haven't fully left 1, 2, 3 behind?
the order.
The order. Yeah, right? Like the meaning of 1, 2, and 3 is 2 is what comes after 1 and 3 is what comes after 2. So if you're still, the sound and gesture for 1 is being followed by the sound and gesture for 2, right? But that's only because 2 comes after 1. But like whatever your crazy sound is doesn't necessarily come after it. So what I'd like you to do for this next round is to have a conversation with your partner in this language in which you're totally released from doing it in any particular order. You have only these 3 sounds and gestures to say, but you don't need to do it in this 1, 2, 3 order anymore. Got it? Say whichever one comes. You can even repeat the one the person just said to you. You can skip around. You can go whatever order you want. We're losing 1, 2, and 3 in that way. Right? First, we lost. There's 2 dimensions to a language. There's the material, the sound, and then there's the meaning of the word. We've lost the material sound of 1, 2, and 3. Now we're losing the meaning by getting rid of the order. Okay? Any questions?
That makes sense. Yeah, just random. Whoever comes along.
Yeah.
I heard these things out there. can do it. Just no order at all.
Okay, cool, cool. What about, how's everybody doing? What about the fact that we're still like one person says one and then the other person says another? That's not really normally the way languages go, right? Normally we combine different words together. We combine different sounds together. We go on for a little while when we're talking to each other. We inflect, we tell stories. So have a relaxing conversation with your partner in this crazy language that you created. Maybe tell each other a story. I don't know, maybe get into an argument. Maybe tell each other a joke. 3 words.
Yeah.
3 words, combined in any way you want, and just let it happen, natural flow. At some point, the other person, if you're the other person talking and you feel like you have something to say, just go ahead and say it. Just make sure it's in your new language. Okay. You're lucky. Sometimes I have my students at some point go out into the cafeteria and continue in their conversation. Okay, nobody's been sent to a padded cell yet. For my class. Okay, go. Have fun.
Yo.
And the fish roast.
It's hard to
You got right up in the
Yo.
Okay, cool. All right, do you remember our left, right game? Okay, I'm going to do that with pairs, okay? So when it comes to your pair, you both say at the same time, either left or right.
Oh.
Okay, you ready? Left.
Right.
So you both say at the same time, right. Okay, so try it. Left.
Right.
Right. Left.
Okay, so all the right pairs turn to the left pairs, and all the right pairs turn to your right, all the left pairs turn to your left.
Okay,
All
so
the
we're going
right
this
pairs
way.
turn to the pair to
Yeah.
your right.
Yeah.
All the left pairs turn to your pair to your left.
Yeah,
What were you guys?
Right.
So you turn that way.
Okay, we got
Other
it.
left.
Yeah,
Glad I got it.
Okay.
Now we
And now
Conversation with
you're having a dinner.
I can't even figure out my own gestures.
Oh, you got time. Okay. All right, so you're having a dinner party, right? Only speak your language. Talk to each other. Hang out, talk to each other, but as you're talking to each other, try to pick up some words in the other people's language and begin to incorporate them into your language, okay? We're like, right? Got it? Try the best you can to incorporate some new words in your new language. You can incorporate them in what you're saying. Okay, and go.
Whoa. Morta. Vascas. I keep forgetting to do the gestures. I keep going right to the language. So
So the sound just is. So that's like you are hearing it.
Vas. When you said more,
I'm sure a lot of English over here.
Yeah, Morta.
This is the sound.
Ga. Was, mortar, mortar.
Was more to back.
Oh, yo.
Yes.
That was not one. This was not one of them. Fourth word.
Yeah.
It's like
Okay, pause for a moment.
It's a lot easier than that.
Okay, so pause for a moment. Okay, so in a combination of the language that you created, plus whatever you just picked up through this little intercultural exchange you just went on, I would like you to just say to the people in your group, in your language, of all of the people in the world that I could have done this exercise with, past, present, and future, I'm so excited that it got to be you.
We're saying that in English.
No.
Oh, it took me a second. I was like, you know, this is a trick question. So.
No, you got it?
Another language.
Go.
Grota, Woos, Martha, Grota, Woos.
Da, was, was.
Was more to was growth.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking that's how you said it.
Yeah.
No, I know.
Right?
I don't know.
Wouldn't that make sense?
What's
Why are you
up?
looking at me?
So
Yeah, why
If that's what it is, then wouldn't it be the same for all? Technically.
I don't know. All right, give it up. Back to you.
On your way still.
No, you're
Okay.
okay.
Okay, so I just want to, I always like to close things out with just a little bit of a, remember the thing we did where everybody sat in a circle and I just asked everybody how you feel about the thing we just did, how are you feeling now after we went through that process? So I'd like to do that now, just quick go around. You just take some time to share how you're feeling right now in your new language. No English. Got it?
Mhm.
Let's start over here.
Yo. That's Olivia.
We. Boo, boo.
Vasca. I lost the last one.
Da, das,
Woos, Grota.
Was more time.
Yeah. Yeah. Good.
C'est bon. Ah.
Bounce, bounce. Ah.
Wait, Professor Chen.
I gotta remember this.
Bleep, bleep.
Yeah. Grr. Yes. Oh. Squish.
All right, great. And one more in English. Give us a word for how you're feeling right now.
Good.
Wow.
Okay.
Okay.
Sweating in a good way.
Thanks for the clarification. Sorry?
Good. Unique. Amazing.
Great.
Fun.
Accomplished.
Energized. Different.
All right, great. Thanks for playing with me, all. Thanks for playing together. Please turn to your partner, your initial partner, and just say thank you for for creating a
Thank
language.
you.
Cool. And thank you to Professor Chen for setting this up.
Thank you, Professor Chen.
Well, we usually then, we have some time to ask any questions you might have. I know Dr. Burak likes to have conversations. And so what questions do you have? I mean, we were, in our classes this morning, we were talking a little about the philosophy of language.
Mhm.
And just the idea that the more we do this, the more we learn about ourselves, which is kind of why we're here. So what questions do you have?
I have a question. Did you come up with this on your own? If so, is there any roots in Tolkien or other people who made up their own languages in the past?
So my big inspiration, like my sort of big teacher, is this Brazilian guy, Augusto Boal. Augusto Boal.
Thank you.
Maybe you heard of Pedagogy of the Oppressed, Paulo Freire. He was
Yes.
his student. He created this thing called Theater of the Oppressed. And the basic, and what I'm sort of working on is how to incorporate this thing called Theater of the Oppressed into philosophy.
That's awesome.
Teaching. And the basic idea of theater of the oppressed comes out of this idea of pedagogy of the oppressed, which was this approach to teaching that was developed by this Brazilian guy, Paulo Freire, who suggested that normally the way we think about teaching and learning is that like the students are an empty vessel and the teacher has a bunch of knowledge and the students come in as an empty vessel and then the teacher just like pours a bunch of knowledge in, and then at the end the students take a test to prove that they retained the knowledge that the teacher poured into them, and then normally the vessel just sort of leaks out after the test. And so Freire's idea was that it's actually an oppressive paradigm, and he posed that to what he called a liberatory pedagogy. Pedagogy just means theory of teaching. And in his approach, the wall between teacher and student is really broken down. So he was actually teaching. He was going around in Brazil teaching literacy, and he found himself this one guy, just this illiterate farmer, landless peasant in Brazil, just in the 40s, just refused to go to any of the classes to learn. He was paid. Freire was paid by the government to go on a motorcycle around in Brazil and go to villages and teach people how to read and write. And there's one guy who just refused to do it. He was just out there with his plow all day. And so one day Freire went over to him and said, like, hey, why don't you come to these classes, learn how to read and write? And he said to him, if you let me teach you how to use a plow, I'll let you teach me how to spell it. So like, I'll learn something from you if you learn something from me.
Mhm.
And it's really revolutionized, for a lot of people, myself included, it totally was like, it was revolutionary in terms of like how to think about education. Some years later, there was this guy, Augusto Boal. So Freire sort of like broke down the wall between the student and the teacher. Some years later, there's this guy, Augusto Boal, my teacher. And he said, you know, we're kind of doing that with theater too. It's like we are the actors who come up here and do a show, and you're the spectators, like the students who just watch us. And instead, he came up with this paradigm where why don't we create something together? And so he came up with this thing called theater of the oppressed, where the the spectators will actually. They'll create a little play, and then the spectators will actually come up on stage, tap an actor on the shoulder, and continue the story in another direction. And then the actor would go down and sit as a spectator, and then it keeps revolving. And after a short period of time, all the people who are initially the actors are off stage, they're in the audience. And the people who were initially in the audience are all on stage, and it keeps revolving like that. So he called that, he coined the term spect actors. You're not a spectator, you're not an actor, you're a spect actor. And so there's a fluid interchange between the people that are in a position of power to give the story and the people who are in a position of powerlessness to just have to receive whatever the story is. And his idea is that we could really transform the world in this procedure from one in which there's the powerful versus the powerless. And we could create a more fluid, less hierarchical world in this way. And along the way, he developed a whole bunch of games for people to start the process of creating together. And I went in different directions with this, and a lot of the things that I actually came up with today, I was just making up on the spot, like what we're gonna do. But the basic process of like creating a game to like this 1, 2, 3 and a sound and a gesture, that was Augusto Boal's idea.
That's awesome.
Sorry, that was really long.
That's okay. Good answer.
Yeah, other questions? Wait, so I did this exercise with my, did you hear about this question?
Yes.
Please.
Is there anything that you specifically noticed that there's a telltale sign of when someone's creating a language of who they are as a person? Like, so if someone is like, for us, it was like, nah, like, would that be like an indicator if someone were to do it in like a less enthusiastic way than another? Then would you be able to tell like this person is shy when it comes to like social interaction? Like
I mean, that's a really interesting point. I haven't really thought about it exactly in those terms. What do you think?
I think you can, but it just depends, especially since like what I don't. So it's different.
Yeah. Yeah, one of the really beautiful concepts that Boal developed, he called demechanization. And his idea was that we kind of like start off maybe like defining who we are in this life, like how we dress, how we walk, how we talk, what we're into. And then after some period of time, it sort of ossifies into this sort of like mechanical thing. You just sort of like do the same thing all the time. After a while, it's like 30 years have gone by. I basically say the same shit and I'm into the same thing. And it's sort of like, am I actually into any of these things? Do I actually like walking like this? Do I like dressing like this? Does the way that I'm living my life actually correspond to who I am right now at all? Or did I just kind of lock this in at some point? And so a lot of the exercises that Boal developed are devoted to what he called demechanizing. So he might say, like, if you were I think just ripping off what the brilliant thoughts that you're sharing, I think that what he might say is like, if you notice, I guess if you're noticing that you're coming at it with this, coming at the gesture in a certain way, it's an opportunity to actually say like, you know what, I'm not going to show up like that. I'm going to show up differently. I'm usually this like really introverted shy person. I'm going to like take this opportunity. So I might want to be like, and instead I'm going to be like, it's like, wow, I never act like that. And it's like, oh, I can sort of like change who I am, free myself to be somebody. We can like become imprisoned to our own style. So cool, that's a really good question. What questions?
I'll ask a question.
Yeah.
One of the things that we ran into in that group before was when you said you're going to say the same thing we said at the beginning, right? All the people in the world, I'm grateful that I got to be paired with you.
Yeah.
In this group. And Esty went first. And so now you got a language that has 6 words, right? Technically 3 and 3. And so
depending on how much you learned. Yeah.
Yeah, so she goes first. And then it dawns on me that in this language, if we're saying the same thing, doesn't have to follow the same pattern that she just said it in, right? So, and this is the idea that and maybe
Right.
it's English is still relevant because the order of saying something is there, or at least in my mind, that order in assigning each of these words a meaning is still there.
Yeah.
How much does that play in with language of, because meanings change over years in different words, right? And like, for example, in French, le garçon is the boy. It used to be how you call the waiter. And today it's considered highly offensive, and this term shifts. And so.
Wait, is that true? If I'm at a cafe in Paris and I say garçon, it's like offensive?
Yeah, they now refer to it as le serveur, the server. But if there's a little boy there, and you can still call him garçon because he is a boy.
Right, but he won't bring me my food.
Yes, correct.
Right.
Right. You
know what, I think that's a really good point. I didn't really think about that, and I actually just thought of that on the spot. Both the first time that I asked you to express appreciation to the other person, as well as when I thought of repeating it at the end. But I think maybe it would be better, maybe, I don't know, I'm just thinking out loud, what do you all think? Maybe it'd be better at the end to say, like, just express appreciation in your new language to the other person. rather than scripting it as like instead of English words, because then technically the person who would have said it would have decided how those
The order goes.
how that English translates into this language.
Mhm.
That's
I
just-
like the your appreciation.
just the idea of expressing like some sort of appreciation.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. You know, it's one of my favorite parts that I do sometimes is there's a bunch of different ways that we've done this. But one of them is to share a secret with this other person in your language, so you're safe. Like they don't know about the dead body, you know, if you say that. But share a secret with this person that you would like, I'll say like you would literally be mortified if the person knew what you just said. I think that we carry around these secrets and we don't share them, whatever the secret is. It doesn't need to be that there's a dead body, whatever it is. Could be. I feel like some sort of like looks of nods and recognition there. Sure. Okay, anyway, so you know, whatever the secret is, that you're having some sort of like mental health issues, that you have this crazy crush on somebody that you can't let go of something, whatever it is that you would not share with this other person right now. Maybe even better, something that you would, if there's anything in there that you wouldn't share with anybody. Fully share it in your new language with the other person, you know. So you're totally safe. The other person is said that's because the other person has no idea what you just said. And yet, in my experience, when people do it, they do feel some element of relief. Like it feels kind of good. Like, oh, I just almost feel like I just got something off my chest. Yeah. I don't know. What do you think could be? There's so many different ways to go. What else do you think now that you have this language created with this person? What else do you think you could do with it?
Give it a history. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh no, I was, so when we did our sharing sort of thing, like, I know you kind of laughed when I did it, but I was gesturing to everybody with GER, right?
Yeah.
But then like, I love how like the words can have different meanings in different contexts, how we did it, because like, we could use as like a sound of like get away, but you can also use like a sound of like kicking something or something that, or stress. Like that's how I used it when I was doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought it was like just kind of interesting in that way,
Yeah.
because we would, and I guess it's kind of because, you know,
No, go ahead.
I don't still develop from there.
No, okay. Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. And what were you saying about history?
Give it a history.
Like, what does that mean?
Well, now you have a story to tell, the story of how this language came into existence.
Mm.
So
Yeah. What might be another round to do? Like, if we're gonna do another round.
4, 5, 6.
Oh. Yeah. You know, so just so you know, like, you can do it with more than 2 people. You just need to always have one more number. So if you have 3 people, you count up to 4. If you have 4 people, you count up to 5. I've done it with as many as 6, but it starts to get really hard to remember all of the different sounds and gestures. I do think that the walking around is really nice, actually. Yeah. All right, you guys, go get some lunch. Thank you for hanging out.
Thank you. Thank you,
Happy
Dr.
to be
Burak.
Thank you.
Thank you all for being applauding you all. Thank you so much. Can you all just put the desks back? Yeah. Where they go?
Oh, once again.
Okay.
My bad.
Thanks, man. That's super fun. Yeah, yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I love to hear it. I love saying. Cool. Makes sense. That's really cool. Yeah. See ya. See ya.
All right. Good job, Sam.